This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Warning! The following podcast contains adult language, adult content, weird and unusual stories that all happen to be true. We didn't start this war on safety, but we're going to fight that safety war and we're going to win it. So we did something a little bit different this weekend. We recorded a Instagram or Facebook Live video. We also put it on YouTube at Jim Polzel's Safety Wars. Let me point out, the following commentary does not, and is not intended to give out any type of medical advice or anything else. It's just some questions that I have for the proposed vaccination mandates. I think that they're very prescient, very relevant questions, and everything else. So, what I'm going to tell you to do is make your own medical decisions. I'm not making medical decisions. Safety FM or JCP Technical or Safety Wars does not make medical decisions for people. We're not recommending vaccines or anything, medical treatment or anything like that. We are, however, questioning, and we're allowed to question what the proposed emergency regulations are. And we need to educate our listeners and educate our customers and clients and everyone else who we're responsible for. And if we did not go and get involved a little bit in this debate as far as some questions that need to be addressed, we wouldn't be doing our job here. So send your questions, your comments, and everything else to jim@safetywars.com or at any of one of our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Gab, Rumble. We're pretty much everywhere where we can be. And we're non-political here. No, that sounds a little bit weird to the people who really know me, but we're basically non-political, apolitical. What we do have to give you is insightful commentary and questions and everything else. And what we're trying to do here is build leadership in the safety industry. Because right now, if this regulation goes through, either on an emergency basis or in a regular regulatory route, it's going to fall squarely on safety professionals to deal with this, and we're already hated enough. And most of my colleagues are hated. We're unnecessary evil in this whole industry. It's going to cause a lot more problems, and I can see a lot of companies just pushing this off onto the safety people and wiping their hands free. So, here's my commentary from over the weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you folks this week. This is Jim Polzel here with Safety Wars on this lovely and glorious Saturday afternoon, enjoying baseball over in Clarkstown. So here's my question for you. We're somewhere around 9 days after this big announcement that there's going to be an emergency regulation promulgated by the Biden administration through OSHA that 100 million workers, 80 to 100 million, probably closer to 100 million, are going to be mandated to have either a vaccination or they're going to require weekly testing. Something I need to point out that really hasn't made the media here is HAL is probably the most underfunded organization. That's OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and the most understaffed organization, the same organization. How are they going to actually enforce this? Because under the Democrats, usually we go from compliance assistance under the Republicans to compliance enforcement under the Democrats. How exactly are they going to do that? They don't even have enough people and resources to enforce the current laws. Now we're going to add something that's going to impact all these tens of millions of people. Probably hasn't been well thought out. Second thing is this. This may be all moot because the number one is all these lawsuits that are going on with state of Arizona at this point has filed a couple, and a couple of other states going against any mandate. First of all, they haven't issued a regulation, so I don't really understand how you're going to file a lawsuit if they haven't done anything yet, and it's all rhetoric, number one. And number two is if they don't have the resources to enforce it, this may all be a moot point to begin with. All right, so it would be just another regulation, sort of like the sanitation standard, right? That really doesn't get enforced. Or it may be a general duty clause type situation like it currently is, where it's extremely difficult to enforce the general duty clause under OSHA, which is that every worker has a right to a safe and healthful workplace, free of recognized hazards. So, I don't know. But we forget about a couple of lines down from the general duty clause that if you're a worker, now you have to obey federal law, right? All the occupational safety and health laws and any other laws and regulations that are promulgated under the Occupational Safety and Health Act. So we're in for quite a ride here in the next year or so if these mandates go through. Something else to remember, the last time OSHA instituted an emergency standard was, I believe, 1983. They've done it 9 times. So far, the last time being 1983, that's almost 2 generations ago. And that standard was knocked down by the courts. And it's a matter of fact, 2/3 of the time these standards are knocked down by the courts. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Enjoy your Saturday. And we'll be back next week with our regular podcast. In September, we're talking about disaster preparedness. Have a nice day.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.